Kenneth Martin. Ken Follett is a Welsh author of thrillers and historical novels. He has sold more than 130 million copies of his works. Many of his books have reached the #1 ranking on the New York Times bestseller list, including Fall of Giants, The Key to Rebecca, Lie Down with Lions, Triple, Winter of the World, and World Without End. Biography. Early life. Follett was born on June 5, 1949 in Cardiff, Wales. He was the first child of Martin Follett, a tax inspector, and Lavinia Follett, who went on to have 3 more children. Barred from watching movies and television by his Plymouth Brethren parents, he developed an early interest in reading but remained an indifferent student until he entered his teens. His family moved to London when he was 10 years old, and he began applying himself to his studies at Harrowweald Grammar School and Poole Technical College. He won admission in 1967 to University College London, where he studied philosophy and became involved in centre-left politics. Marriage and early success. He married his first wife, Mary, in 1968, and their son Emmanuel was born in the same year. After graduation in the autumn of 1970, Follett took a 3-month postgraduate course in journalism and went to work as a trainee reporter in Cardiff on the South Wales Echo. After 3 years in Cardiff, he returned to London as a general assignment reporter for the Evening News. Finding the work unchallenging, he eventually left journalism for publishing and became, by the late 1970s, deputy managing director of the small London publisher Everest Books. He also began writing fiction during evenings and weekends as a hobby. Later, he said he began writing books when he needed extra money to fix his car, and the publisher's advance a fellow journalist had been paid for a thriller was the sum required for the repairs. Success came gradually at first, but the publication of Eye of the Needle in 1978 made him both wealthy and internationally famous. Further successes. Each of Follett's subsequent novels has also become a bestseller, ranking high on the New York Times bestseller list. A number have been adapted for the screen. Ken Follett has written 29 books in the past 35 years. The first 5 bestsellers were spy thrillers, Eye of the Needle, Triple, The Key to Rebecca, The Man from St. Petersburg and Lie Down with Lions. On Wings of Eagles, was the true story of how 2 of Ross Perot's unregistered trademark employees were rescued from Iran during the Revolution of 1979. He then surprised readers by radically changing course with The Pillars of the Earth, a novel about building a cathedral in the Middle Ages. It received rave reviews and was on the New York Times bestseller list for 18 weeks. It also topped bestseller lists in Canada, Britain and Italy, and was on the German bestseller list for 6 years. It has sold 18 million copies so far. The next 3 novels, Night Over Water, A Dangerous Fortune and A Place Called Freedom, were more historical than thriller, but he returned to the thriller genre with a third twin, which in the Publishing Trends Annual Survey of International Fiction Bestsellers for 1997 was ranked #2 worldwide, after John Grisham's The Partner. His next work, The Hammer of Eden, was another contemporary suspense story followed by a Cold War thriller, Code to Zero. Follett returned to the WWII era with his next 2 novels, Jackdaws, a World War II thriller about a group of women parachuted into France to destroy a vital telephone exchange, which won the Corrin Prize for 2003, and Hornet Flight, about a daring young Danish couple who escaped to Britain from occupied Denmark in a rebuilt Hornet Moth biplane with vital information about German radar. Whiteout is a contemporary thriller about the theft of a deadly virus from a research lab. World Without End is the sequel to Pillars of the Earth. The book returns to Kingsbridge 200 years later, and features the descendants of the characters in a Pillars, a unregistered trademark. It focuses on the destinies of a handful of people as their lives are devastated by the Black Death, the plague that swept Europe in the middle of the 14th century. Century Trilogy. Follett's next 3 novels, Fall of Giants, Winter of the World and Edge of Eternity, make up the Century Trilogy. Fall of Giants followed the fates of 5 interrelated families, American, German, Russian, English and Welsh, as they moved through the world-shaking dramas of the First World War, the Russian Revolution and the struggle for women's suffrage. Fall of Giants, published simultaneously in 14 countries, was internationally popular and topped several bestseller lists. Winter of the World picks up where the first book left off, as its 5 interrelated families enter a time of enormous social, political, and economic turmoil, beginning with the rise of the Third Reich, through the Spanish Civil War and the great dramas of World War II, to the explosions of the American and Soviet atom bombs and the beginning of the long Cold War. The third novel in the A-Century unregistered trademark trilogy, Edge of Eternity, which follows those families through the events of the last half of the century, is due to be published in late 2014. Appearances and adaptations in other media. Eye of the Needle was made into an acclaimed film, starring Donald Sutherland, and 6 novels have been made into television mini-series, The Key to Rebecca, Lie Down with Lions, On Wings of Eagles, The Third Twin the rights for which were sold to CBS for $1,400,000, a record price at the time €1, and The Pillars of the Earth and World Without End. These last 2 have been screened in several languages in many countries. Ken Follett also had a cameo role as the valet in The Third Twin and later as a merchant in The Pillars of the Earth. Public life. Ken Follett is a member of various organizations that promote literacy and writing, and is actively involved in various organizations in his hometown of Stevenage. Chair of the National Year of Reading 1998-99, a British government initiative to raise literacy levels. Fellow of University College, London. Fellow of our Academy Gymraega the Welsh Academy, Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, President, Dyslexia Action, Chair, National Year of Reading, Patron, Schools Radio, Chair of the Advisory Committee, Reading is Fundamental UK, Board Member, National Academy of Writing, Trustee, National Literacy Trust. He is active in numerous Stevenage charities and was a governor of Roebuck Primary School for 10 years, serving as the chair of governors for 4 of those years. On September 15, 2010, Follett, along with 54 other public figures, signed an open letter published in The Guardian stating their opposition to Pope Benedict XVI's state visit to the UK. Awards, 2013, made a Grand Master at the Edgar Awards in New York, 2012. Winter of the World won the Quay Copyright Lear Prize for Best Translated Book of that year in Spain. 2010, Fall of Giants won the Libri Golden Book Award for Best Fiction Title in Hungary that year. 2010, made a Grand Master at Thriller Fest V in New York. 2008, won the Earl Bell Prize for contributing to the promotion and awareness of architecture. 2008, made an Honorary Doctor of Literature by the University of Exeter. 2007, made an Honorary Doctor of Literature by the University of Glamorgan. 2007, made an Honorary Doctor of Literature by Saginaw Valley State University. 2003, Jack Dawes won the Koren Literature Prize in Bavaria. 1999, Hammer of Eden won the Premio Bancarella Literary Prize in Italy. 1979, Eye of the Needle won the Edgar Best Novel Award from the Mystery Writers of America. Personal life. Follett became involved, during the late 1970s, in the activities of Britain's Labour Party. In the course of his political activities, he met the former Barbara Brewer, a Labour Party official, who became his second wife in 1984. She was elected as a Member of Parliament in 1997, representing Stevenage. She was re-elected in both 2001 and in 2005, but did not run in the 2010 general election. Follett himself remains a prominent Labour supporter and fundraiser as well as a prominent Blairite. In 2010, he was the largest donor to Ed Balls's campaign to become leader of the Labour Party, saying Ed Balls is the only Labour leadership candidate who offers a path to economic growth. His time at the Treasury, with low borrowing and high growth, shows he is the true candidate of the centre in this leadership election. Only Ed offers a broad appeal to all voters and is not afraid to stand up to the left wing of the party, much like Tony Blair. Bibliography. Apple's Carstairs series, The Big Needle, The Big Black, The Big Hit, Piers Roper series, The Shakeout, The Bear Raid, Kingsbridge series, The Pillars of the Earth, World Without End, The Century Trilogy, Fall of Giants, Winter of the World, Edge of Eternity, Stand-alone novels, Amok, King of Legend, The Modigliani Scandal, The Mystery Hideout, The Power Twins, Paper Money, Capricorn 1, Eye of the Needle, Triple, The Key to Rebecca, The Man from St. Petersburg, On Wings of Eagles, Lie Down with Lions, Night Over Water, A Dangerous Fortune, A Place Called Freedom, The Third Twin, The Hammer of Eden, Code to Zero, Jackdaws, Hornet Flight, Whiteout, Non-Fiction, The Heist of the Century, References and Notes. Further reading, Ken Follett, The Transformation of a Writer, written by Carlos Ramet. Popular Press, November 1990. External links, official website, Ken Follett at the Internet Movie Database, works by or about Ken Follett in libraries, example article directory, Ken Follett on Facebook, Ken Follett on YouTube, Ken Follett on Twitter, Schools Radio.